Hello, my name's Mabel and I'm 36 years old. I recently became the owner of a new luxury hotel that wasn't always mine. Today, I want to tell you about how that happened. Let me introduce you to the old owner of the business, my ex-husband, Calvin. Calvin and I met in college. We hit it off pretty instantly. We started dating shortly after we met and we just stuck. Calvin was everything I wanted in a partner, so I knew there was no reason for me to ever leave him. After we graduated, we focused on our own careers and worked really hard to make it big. I had been doing fairly well as I earned pretty well, and I was in a respectable position in my company. Calvin, however, was doing way better than me. He very quickly climbed the corporate ladder and found himself in a very high position in his company. It was around this time that Calvin asked me to marry him, and I enthusiastically said yes. We decided to have a relatively small wedding so we could splurge on a nice house for us. Now, I had more than enough money to buy my house and a big wedding, but I didn't want to dip into my savings. You see, when I was growing up, since I had about 4 other siblings, my family struggled financially. Both my parents worked in high-paying jobs, but having 5 children so close in age did not help. So as soon as I started working, I began saving up. I opened a savings account that had a high rate of return, and I have been religiously adding to it ever since then. I had built up quite a good amount of money by the time I got married, so even though I had the means to, Calvin and I both decided that it wasn't necessary to use. Anyways, after that, Calvin and I lived pretty comfortably. We never really lacked anything, and on more occasions than I'd like to admit, we made impulse purchases that would make anyone's eyes pop out of their skull. I'm only saying all this so I can paint a picture of just how good we had it. So I was very concerned when I began to notice how depressed Calvin was beginning to get. He seemed so lifeless and rarely talked to me. One day I finally managed to sit him down properly and got him to talk. "What's wrong, honey?" "I don't know. I just feel like I haven't accomplished much." "What are you talking about? You're at your peak right now. You're one of the highest paid employees in your company and you have the next highest power after the CEO. Yeah, I know. It's just, it doesn't feel right." "What do you mean?" "Well, I'm grateful that I get to make so much money and exercise the power that many people dream of, but this is not what I always had in mind." "Are you talking about your dream to open up your luxury hotel?" "Yeah. I mean, now is the perfect time to do it, right? I've achieved whatever I needed to, and we're definitely really comfortable with our lives." "So what's stopping you?" "It's a huge risk, Mabel. If I have to start something that big, I'd have to quit my current job and we'd be able to survive on my savings for around another 4 to 5 years. That's only for our survival. I have no other means to fund the project." "Well, how badly do you want to start the project?" "Honestly, as soon as I can. But realistically speaking, I probably have to work another 8 to 9 years before I have enough money to fund it and allow us to survive comfortably." "Actually, you don't need to do that." "Huh? What are you talking about?" "You know how I've been putting aside money since I was 16? Well, I have a pretty large amount in my savings with interest and all. I could give you the money." "What? No, that's your money. You shouldn't have to give it all up for me." "That's nonsense, honey. There's no such thing as your money and my money. We're married and I love you. Just let me do this one nice thing for you, okay?" "I really don't know how to thank you enough for this." "Just be as successful as you can and be happy. That's all I want for you." I never had any big ambitions in my life, but I knew all about Calvin's big dream. It was the one thing he never stopped talking about back in college. He had seen all the big luxurious hotels in movies and TV shows and always wanted to own one of his own. Even though we got busy with our lives after college, he still brought up this dream of his every now and then. I should have realized something was wrong when he stopped bringing it up for a few months. But I was also glad that he opened up to me about it. I knew just how much it meant to me, and since I had the funds to help him out, I saw no reason to not help him fulfill his dream. It was even better to see Calvin return to his old self. Over the next week, we began planning how to get the business started. We decided it was best to have the money transferred to Calvin so he could easily make all the payments he needed to make. However, I wanted to transfer all the money he needed at once without seeming suspicious in any way. My mom, who is a lawyer, told me many stories about the banks and the FBI getting involved in large transactions. So I called my mom to ask her how to get around it. Hey, Mom, how's it going? Hi, sweetie. Everything's going well, although I am super excited to finally retire next year. Work treating you badly? No, but I'm just too old to keep doing this. I still love my job and I'm grateful for everything it gave me, but my God, it never stops. I'm counting down the minutes to my retirement at this point. Oh, Mom, it'll be over before you know it, and then you'll miss it. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Anyways, was there any particular reason that you called? Oh, yeah, I was going to ask you if you knew how to withdraw or transfer a large amount of money at once without making it look suspicious. Large amount of money? Why? Well, since the start, Calvin has always had a dream to open up his own luxury hotel. He's been down in the dumps recently because he feels like he's lost all his passion and motivation, so I offered to help fund his project. Wow, that is very sweet. Where are you getting all this money from? You know, the money that I've been setting aside for the past 20 years? You're giving him all your life savings? Yeah, I can't think of any better way to spend it. It'll make him happy, and that's all I care about. Okay, well, will you at least have a contract drawn up stating you as an investor? Contract? Why would I make a contract with Calvin about it when I willingly offered him my money? Look, sweetie, I've been a lawyer for 45 years now. I've seen a lot of things, and if there's one thing I'm absolutely sure of, it's that the world of business, especially successful ones, changes people, usually for the worse. So you think that Calvin will turn on me? How could you think that way? We've been married for 11 years now. I know I sound like a jackass, but it's true. I don't doubt the both of you or your relationship. You know I love Calvin like a son, but when you start seeing money, things start changing. People turn on their partners and families break. For your safety, get yourself a contract and make sure it states you as a main shareholder. I know you're not wrong, but it just feels so wrong. How will I even bring this up with Calvin? You just need to rip it off like a Band-Aid. I'm sure he'll handle it well. And if he doesn't, well, he doesn't get his project funded, at least as funded as he wants it. That feels like I'm taking advantage of him. It's a small price to pay to make sure you're covered. If you need me to write you that contract, just let me know. All right, just give me a few days to think it over, okay? I hated that my mom was right. I hadn't even thought of it that way. I lost a lot of sleep over the next few nights because I didn't know what was right. On one hand, I'd be protecting myself, but on the other, doing it would be like slapping Calvin in the face. I mean, I had just promised him that I would help him achieve his dream, and then I decided to backtrack a little. But eventually I decided to go ahead with the contract. I decided to get a second opinion from another lawyer, one that wasn't going to be biased towards me, because I knew them. They agreed with what my mom had said too, and also brought to light that having this contract would serve as a savior for both Calvin and me. My stomach was a mess that day that I decided to talk to Calvin about it. After dinner that day, I sat Calvin down and told him that I needed to talk to him about something. Hey, so I needed to talk to you about something. Yes, what is it? You know how I said that I would give you my money? Yes. Well, I was talking to my mom about it, and you know, since she's a lawyer and all, she implored me to make a contract with you about it. A contract? For what? Technically speaking, I will be an investor in your company, so I will need that written down. Why do you need all that? Do you not trust me? Of course I do. It's just that it's better to have everything in writing. All I'm hearing is that you don't trust me. If I didn't trust you, I wouldn't have offered you the money to begin with. Then why are you suddenly asking for a contract? You know that I trust my mom with all the legal stuff. I have always listened to what she said, and it's saved me a bunch. Hell, she's even helped us out of many sticky situations. Sure, but this is very different. This is you giving me something out of the goodness of your heart and then suddenly backtracking and adding conditions. Look, I don't know why you're making a big deal out of this. All I'm becoming is an investor. I want to hold 51% of the shares, and you can have the other. 51%? So you get to make most of the decisions? It's only fair, don't you think? I'm the one investing all of my money into this. Besides, I promise to never get in your way. You are getting in the way of my dreams. You will still be the owner of your business, Cal. I just need some credit for what I'm investing in. Plus, it's great on my resume. You're unbelievable. I'm sorry that I've caught you so off guard, but you reacting this way is only making me think that you had actual plans to do something behind my back. No, I do not. It's just the principle of things. When you ask me for a contract stating that you're an investor, it makes me feel like you don't trust me. Well, like I said before, I can promise you that it's not how I feel. Why don't you think it over for a couple of days? And what happens if I say no? I will invest in your business depending on how many shares you're willing to give me. I never expected this out of you, Mabel. It pained me to do that to Calvin, but I also knew that it was a much better option to trust my mom. Calvin didn't speak to me for a while after that. I tried to talk to him and explain my perspective. I tried to reassure him that it wasn't a matter of my trust in him, but just something that I was doing to ensure my security, which by extension became a security for him as well. Calvin refused to listen to me. Eventually, I stopped trying to talk to him and decided to just let him come to me whenever he was ready. Calvin didn't speak to me for the next 2 weeks. Those weeks were hell, because it felt like I was living with a roommate rather than my husband. I came really close to just giving in and telling him to forget about everything that I had said. But then Calvin approached me one day. He told me that he tried to find more investors, but no one was ready to take such a big risk. And those that wanted to invest in him didn't have the kind of funds that he needed. He made it clear that he hated that I had conditions to help him out, but he had no choice, which was why he was taking me up on my offer. I understood where he was coming from, but I was quiet. Over the next few weeks, we got his business registered and funded. We found a plot in a prime location, and the construction began. The next few years were super stressful because we had a lot to supervise and approve, but all of that was worth it when I got to see the finished hotel. It was beyond luxurious. It was something straight out of a movie, and I just knew that it was going to be a big deal. I had been really excited about the grand opening, but Calvin told me not to come because he didn't think I needed to be there. We had a small spat about it, but eventually I gave in. I still don't know why I did, but I guess I was just hurt and angry. Calvin apologized profusely after he came back from the grand opening and worked hard to make up for what he did. He never gave me an actual reason for why he didn't want me there, but eventually I just dropped the topic altogether. One day, Calvin came back home particularly happy. It had been about a year since the hotel opened, and Calvin almost always came back home really tired and never in the mood to talk. So to see him so happy was truly a surprise. I asked him what made him so happy. I cannot even begin to tell you just how well the business is doing. Just the other day, we had a bunch of famous actors and actresses stay there. I'm so glad that it's all working out well. Ah, life finally feels colorful again. We also got glowing reviews about our food. I knew it was a good idea to take extra time to find properly trained chefs. That's wonderful, honey. I'm so proud of you for everything that you've achieved. You do deserve this and so much more. But when am I going to get into this famous hotel of yours? You want to dine in it? Well, yes, I do want to see what all the buzz is about. I want to taste the good food and bask in the luxurious atmosphere. Oh, I don't think that's a good idea. What? Why? Look, let's be real honest with each other here. You're the furthest thing from posh or classy. I don't want my business's image to tarnish because of someone who looks like you. Are you actually being serious right now? There's no need to get all upset about it. I'm only speaking the truth. Why wouldn't I get upset? I invested everything into this only for you to tell me that I'm not welcome because I don't look like I belong there? I get a lot of high-profile clients, okay? And you know how the rich are? They're all snobby and believe that only they have certain things. If they see you dressed like you usually do, my business will start to tank. You really are something, aren't you? What does that mean? You just showed me your true colors, and I'm going to make you pay for it. There's no need for any empty threats, okay? I'm simply doing what's best for my business. That is something you'll never understand, unfortunately. I was so angry that I was calm. I couldn't believe that my own husband thought so lowly of me. What had I done to him to deserve this view? All I could think about at that moment was how I had lost all the money that I had invested. It all felt so pointless to have even tried to support my husband when he thought I was not allowed to enter the hotel based on something so superficial. I never even got to pocket any of the returns on my investments because that went straight into Calvin's pocket. That was something I was happy to give him because I was already earning enough for myself through my own job. It was not like Calvin spent that money on anything but the house anyway. But now I needed to get it all back. I saw no reason for someone as ungrateful as him to own his dream. He must have forgotten just how his business came to be, because if he did remember it, he would never have treated me that way. I wanted revenge, and I knew just who to go for that. I called my mom up after Calvin left the house to give me space to cool down. I told my mom everything that had happened and asked her if I could do anything. She told me that since I was the major investor and shareholder, I had a total say in what happened in the business. No big decision could be made without my approval, and I also got to decide who owned the business. Armed with that knowledge, it was only a simple process of holding a board meeting with the rest of the shareholders and letting them know that there had been a change in ownership. Of course, I was asked why the sudden change, and when I explained what had happened, most of them looked shocked. Some of them even snickered at the absurdity of Calvin's actions. By the end of the meeting, all of them were on board with my plan. Then came the paperwork, which took a little while. I knew that everything had been done successfully when Calvin came back home one day, fuming. He stormed into the house and began yelling my name really loud. He finally found me in our bedroom. "What the hell did you do?" "What are you talking about?" "Don't even. I just got called for a board of directors meeting, and I got told that I was no longer the head of the hotel." "Oh, really? That's rough. How could you do this to me? You knew this was my dream. Some dreams are just not meant to be fulfilled. You threw me out all because I told you that you weren't fit to sit in my hotel. Tell me how you would have reacted if the tables were turned. I would definitely not have done this because that would never have happened. I take great pride in how I look, and I make sure that I look the part wherever I go." "That's true. You do look very much like the loser you are." "How did you even do this?" My, for someone who claimed that they knew what business was like, you sure don't understand how it works, huh? This has something to do with that stupid contract, doesn't it? Since I'm the major shareholder, I get to have a say in the ownership as well. You insulted me, and I made you pay for it. If you think this business can run without me, you're sorely mistaken. I have created rapport with so many famous people that the business will crash the second they find out that I'm no longer in the picture." "That's not something I'm too concerned about. I've heard all about your rapports." All you've been doing is irritating the guests and tailing them all in the hopes of making it bigger. In fact, it's because of this that the business is starting to fall. Now, with you gone, I'm sure the business will soar again. Who are you even replacing me with? Me, obviously. And I'm going to make it the most successful thing you've ever seen. And when I've made it big enough, I'll make sure to give everyone an entry, including you. Here, take these divorce papers and get the hell out of my life. Calvin tried to beg me more to take back what I did, but I was done with his antics. I had sacrificed all my hard-earned money to help him, and then he showed me his true colors. I was not going to let someone that selfish back into my life. Seeing the color drain from his face as he realized what he had done was the most satisfying thing that had ever happened to me. I took away the product of his hard work in the same manner that he had done to me. After that, a lot of things happened in rapid succession. First, Calvin tried to contest a divorce, but I let him have everything else he wanted but the business. He got the house, but the business was untouchable, as it was all mine. Then I got a lot of Calvin's family members messaging and calling me to tell me what a horrible person I was. The old me would have been really upset by that. But if there was one thing that Calvin taught me, it was how to stand up for myself. I gave them all the truth and presented them with evidence of everything. That only led to Calvin getting ostracized by his family because he had apparently lied to them all and told them that I had stolen the business. They were disgusted in the way that he treated me, and they made sure he knew about it. Many of them reached out to apologize, and in return I gave them discount coupons for the hotel. I'm still healing from everything that Calvin put me through, but I'm also finally living freely. The hotel's business is booming. Now that I've opened it up to a bigger demographic, I will forever be grateful to my mom for having much better hindsight than I will ever be able to have. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy the next chapter of my life to the fullest.